I've read this one before, and if I have, will you stop me?
No.
Human touch. I've been dancing in my mind to Lonely Town, Lonely Street by Sheryl Crow, as Wayne pulls up his new orange socks and tells me about a man hanging from a tree in the local park, how he jumped down and started doing Tai Chi. I mean, just like that. Seems that's the difference between you and me. I'm up in the canopy looking down on this apocalypse, and there you are, with a spade in your hand, burying those dead rats that visit your dreams of safety. At high noon, some stranger walks past my front door, blows a kiss my way as the cowboy junkies sing Misery, and my feet think they have knee-high boots on. I keep on with the shuffle sidestep routine. It's been weeks since I felt crowds surrounding my skin, since I touched a soft cheek with my fingertips. And Rob tells me today is a rumpus day with music, song and gay abandon, the ancient ritual for May Day, from dark into light. Bring a flame of Beltane into the hearth of us all. And here in my green bedroom, the no ones sing, no one falls alone. Today's playlist is full of love and heartbreaks as David Bowie sings Shopping for Girls from a Higher Plane. My hips go this way and that, and God, I remember how you held me so tight, squeezed my flesh towards yours as we melted together in a land of honey. And Joni is next with The Dawn Treader, treasure somewhere in the sea, the roll of the harbour wake. And still my love handles wait behind closed doors. Charles sends me an email about the wild cherry tree in his garden and how different it is from mine, as Peter Gabriel's melody of Mercy wraps around my breasts that recall the sucking of baby boys, contractions inside my womb, a nurture like no other. And I'm on my knees praying again to Nick Cave's hymn, into my arms, oh Lord, just one more time.
Excellent, Penny.
Yeah. Got time for one more?
Yeah.
Yep. Ariel. Thin as air, imaginary, this feeling of flight, heavy in your pockets, the dust of love. You say it's good to sprinkle it on porridge, that ideas can be born from just sitting still, no need to fly. I knew people who tripped out every Saturday, a parallel universe to downing 10 pints. They would wait for the altered state. I watched the shift in their faces as the sunlight drug hit some part of their brain, and nirvana was present in the colors, in the movement of a butterfly, the sound of a riff on Jimmy's guitar. Thin as air, imaginary, worlds of flight, heavy in your pockets, the remains of love, a clipped bird, angel, phantom. It's no use escaping to blue sky and clouds. It's written somewhere in the sand. I remember the stick you picked up, our driftwood, how you made sure the heart was large enough to be seen from space, and those arrows that pinned down my love for you, so sharp, the feathers so soft, they tickled the goo of me. It's no use trying to hold back the sea, the honey of a sunset. It's here, my love. At some point soon, we will be on our way. No need for spooning or hands to hold. We have blazed on solid ground. Now we will be aerial, the dust of love. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Penny. That's lovely. Thank you. Well read as well.
Thank you.
So very, some very complimentary and deserved comments there as well.
Thanks, Steve.
Great.
Good luck with your move.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Hope you'll be happy.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah, Tallulah, if you want to read the second half, there's plenty of there's a space, yeah. So
okay, then that's good. Cool.
Okay, nice one. Thank you for kicking us off. A great way to kick us off. Okay, all the way from Turkey, to Stretford.
That's right. Yeah.
Good word, right? Big welcome to David Mellor. Thank you, Dave.
Okay, I've just got three short poems, and hopefully this is the last time I'm going to be reading this one. This is The Island of the Dead. It's about what's happened over the water over the last few years, about America. Under the soft snow of Alabama, they let him hang from a tree to tell them that no one messes with Mary Lee. In a classroom 50 miles south, they picked on Maria Gadaba and they made her crawl on her knees. At a special school, they broke off for tea and went back to the dormitories and saw Steve and Jane and others to burn to see. In the island of the dead, they made America cremate again. In the White House, he sat petulant and cold, letting loose women to be slapped, Muslims to be demoned, black people to be murdered in the streets. But in the soul of the dead, America was great again, too. Thank you. The next one was written in March, and we all know what this is about. It's still the same now. The daily count of lives. 746. 6 fell in love more than 4 times. 673, 20, they had no regrets. 714, 5 could still feel their first kiss. 643, 27 looked at photos of their loved ones each and every morning. 547, 7 had a contagious laughter. 517, 100 regretted that their beauty had faded. 468, 35 had worked in the same shop all of their lives. 573 today, 8 had won awards for services to others. 375, 75 had been brokenhearted. 817 had touched 1 million souls. 917, all the people had been loved by someone, because behind every number. Thank you. I've just got a very short one now. This was written about my streets in Liskeard and Wirral, just walking through the streets. And I can't imagine what our northern streets are going to look like after this pandemic. But this is me just walking down the street scene. That's a tanning studio. That's a chippy. That's a tanning studio. That's a hairdresser's, an empty shop, an empty shop, an empty shop. That's a smoke-free Witherspoons. That's a closed pub. That's a closed pub. That's a closed pub. That's a couple strapped for cash. That's a family next door whose gyro couldn't last. That's a fake tan. That's a discarded chip paper. And that's another fake tan. That's just our northern streets that are coming to their end. Thank you very much for tonight. It was really great to be here.
Thanks, David. Yeah, nice and strong last poem to finish that set off. Thank you.
Dave, I know you just bought a book out. Do you want to tell everybody about your book you just bought out?
Oh, yeah, it's called, what's the name of the book? So this is it. I've even forgot the name of it. That sounds like, you know, the Beatles don't forget their names. So this is it. It's on Amazon. It has everything in there that I've done. So if you want to send a present to someone that you dislike intensely, then that would be the ideal one. Or even if you will like it, which I'm sure you will. So thank you very much for letting us do that plug as well. Bless you both.
Thank you, David. Good luck with the book. And if you need to slide off at any time, given the time difference, mate, just, you know, okay, no problem. That's great. Okay. Okay, Janey. So our next reader is Janey Colborne.
Thank you. Cheers. I love that last one of yours, David. It sounds like where I live as well. It's dog grooming parlours and chippies, empty shops, yeah, and mattresses in back alleys. I'm just going to do one poem tonight. It's a new one. It's a slight preamble with it. I've got a 16-year-old daughter, and this poem is about her. So I asked her first. Well, I showed it her first and asked her if she minded me sharing it. And she suggested a couple of useful edits, which was nice. So I took those on board. And she's good with language. And then she was happy with it, which is a relief. So one of my favourite things during lockdown has been my daughter's cooking. She's made some really nice food, really enjoyed it. And this poem is all about how I taught my daughter to cook. Thanks to me, my daughter is an excellent cook. Although my teaching method has been somewhat unconventional, and largely unintentional. When she's 15 years old, she boldly tells me, "Thanks to you, I have extensive culinary skills because, Mum, you're a shit cook." I'm sorry I'm a shit cook, love. I've got to admit, I'm a basic bitch when it comes to alimentation. Don't get me wrong, I'm a dedicated mum. I breastfed her till she was 2 and she grew at an exponential rate. We shared a bed till she was old enough to say, "I want my own room," which was cool. We sang songs, made art, played in the park. There were a few concessions to the culinary arts. We baked cakes, bread and pizza with reasonable success and quite a lot of mess. I always listened when she had to get her worries off her chest. When she cried in the dead of night, I was there. When she asked me to hold her till she fell asleep, I was there. I read her stories for hours, taught her to identify wildflowers. Now we talk about politics and how to vote. I even take her with me to the polling station. We do visualizations and meditate, speak French and Italian in conversation. I respect her need to negotiate and her right for explanations. But sooner or later, she was going to realise that I hate cooking. I'm not adventurous at meal ideas. I'm kind of stale. This is my big parenting fail. If you want fancy cuisine, I'm afraid you're out of luck. I'm a shit cook. The trouble is, I don't really give a fuck. If I can have my nose in a book, I will, while I shove something quick and easy under the grill. But then I hear her grievously complain, "Please, Mum, not oven chips again." So thanks to my disinterest, my daughter can create for us a range of global dishes, some very tasty plates, an ever-expanding, sophisticated menu, all credit due entirely to you, dear daughter. Thank you. You're an excellent cook. Thank you. She did smile at that one. It's true. It's completely, this poem is completely true. She makes all sorts of stuff like recipes from Iran, Ethiopia, Korea, all sorts. She finds out all about the culture. She learns languages. It's great. Really enjoying it. Is it all right to give my event a quick mention?
Of course it is.
Cheers. 17th of November, in a couple of weeks. It's a Tuesday. We've got a Zoom poetry night coming up, spoken word. It's headlined by Rose Condor. And we've got Jerry Clarkson and Ros Weaver also featured. And we've got a couple of open mic slots still available. It is a £5, but it's going to be a really good night. So it's on Facebook. It's the Bureau Centre for the Arts that I'm doing it through, but it's on my Facebook as well. Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks, Janey. If you want to put it on the chat as well, then
Oh, thanks. Yeah,
links or whatever.
I'll suss that out. Yeah, cheers. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks for that.
Thanks. Cheers.
Good stuff. Okay. Okay, our next reader is Maria Byrne.
Yeah, it's a bit noisy where I live, so but I'll get on with it.
With
Anyway.
fireworks.
Yeah.
Yeah, same for me. Yeah.
A bit back, because I do workshops with poet Louise Zackley. A bit back, I went to one of her workshops, and they are the new Fire Within galleries. And I was looking around before the workshop, and this is a poem that came from that. It's called The Mask at an Art Gallery. The mask is capturing an atmosphere of linseed and distilled turpentine, celestial void, and a primer on a blank canvas, and the beats of the bass guitar. I'm playing bass in my head. I'm painting squarism in my mind. My favourite bands, the Lottery Winners and the Locklands, exhibitioning, and it takes me back to the weekly session at the Music Project. Thank you. This other one is music related as well, and it's about because I've got a unit about a podcast. The podcast is about whether music is poetry or whether poetry is music. So this is a little poem that came from that. The music is in the bass line and poetry is in the beat. The lyrics and the chords combine. The music is in the bass line and it overwhelms the mind. And art beat after art beat meets. Music is in the bass line and poetry is in the beat. Thank you.
Maria, I've got time for another one. It's up to you. Have you
No, it's
got another
okay.
one? Okay, lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Maria. Really good. Really well read as well. Okay, next up is the co-host and the co-founder and everything. The person, one of the people who makes sure Speakeasy happens, does a lot of work, and a good writer in his own right, is Andy N.
Cheers, Steve. Good night tonight, actually, so far. I think like it. Sometimes when we've got tonight where there's a few less people, it makes it more intimate sometimes. So it's nice. Right, I'm going to do 2 pieces tonight from my couples book I'm still working on, very slowly at the moment. So people don't know these are imaginary letters between couples. So I've got both got themes and music in different ways, these two. I'll do the depressing one first, and I'll give the slightly uplifting one afterwards. The depressing one is called Piano Burial Morecambe, and I got this off part of a news story actually. So, Piano Burial Morecambe. Do you remember that old man and his son who dragged out that old piano in front of us, the seafront of Morecambe, Sarah, and then proceeded to throw it piece by piece into the ocean after spending an hour chopping it up? Shut up and keep cutting it. Do you remember the old man saying, "We don't have all day, it's what she would have wanted," before watching it drift into the ocean as it merged with centuries old wood, their heads disappearing into their hats as the rain came down halfway, forcing us both back inside my car, leaving us wondering afterwards, did they finish it? It must have been for his mother, he proclaimed. on the way back home, burying the piano in a silent tribute, like a library of stones into the sea, carried away with the tidal cycle, reeled as some kind of personal memory. I only found out after you'd gone. They did it when they found out she wasn't coming out of hospital. I'll never play for them again over breakfast or supper. Funneling south in her dreams, Coswallowly lighthouse as a child, throwing her arms out freely into a fraying seam of two worlds colliding, burying herself, following others' dreams like you did with me, us, without realising. Okay. Other one is a bit more cheerful. Now, I need to explain this one very briefly as well. Now, the title of this one is called Playing Trumpton Cover Versions with Freddie Phillips at the Edge of Stonehenge. Now, anyone knows old British TV kids programs, a few people will remember this. Freddie Phillips was very famous doing the music with Camberwick Green and Trumpton, among other things. And I've been listening to his music very recently. Somebody played it to me, and I loved his guitar work. So this is the couples again, where you work it out, okay? Playing Trumpton cover versions with Freddie Phillips at the Edge of Stonehenge. Wandering through the countryside, whose idea was it to stop a few miles outside Stonehenge and sit there that afternoon, picnicking acoustic guitars in hand, Sarah, and recreate Freddie Phillips' work on Trumpton? It was never you lived anywhere near there, but you just wanted to sit near Stonehenge with my old cassette recorder lying next to my car, determined to learn a few of his tracks in a slightly slower key than what the cassette played it at. F, you told me, and I stumbled on to E. When we went through the fireman drill, I started playing Windy Miller's song afterwards when you wanted to play P.C. McGarry's theme, smiling silently to yourself after realising I drunk way too much for you to get much sense out of me by then. Mr. Farthing, Mrs. Honeyman, Mr. Swaller, I tried to keep up with you stumbling around my fretboard, imagining I was a genius, when in reality I was barely an amateur. Frost furred to next to our car in a blanket, looking slowly at the sunset. The past feathered in our hearts, counting notes again in the dawn over the nearby fields. Music from our childhoods, drawing us both together again, burying our guitars into our emotions, our love into barleycorn. That's me done, guys. Enjoy the rest of the night.
Thanks, Andy. Yeah, good stuff, mate. Thank you for that. Okay, next up is Mike Booth.
Hi guys. I wasn't really expecting to read, but I've just scrolled through some poems and so many of them about lockdown, so I've decided to skip that because I've seemed to have written loads of things about lockdown. So I've got one that I've been working on for a while, which I've never read before, and then a old one, which I'm a bit lighter. So the first one's just called What Do You Do? What do you do when words have all been said and spaces swell, twisting thoughts inside your head? The charming, soothing words have all been meant, laughs been had, hands been held, tears wiped away in troubled bed. And now upon the window rains each day, and chores so quickly smother daily play. You lie together, lying lives linking just the same, no budding shoots or leaves, but wooded trunk remains. Now eyes don't fix, but turn aside to daily life, the kitchen sink, and you retreat as thoughts you think. Love looks not with a stare, but with a glance. And efforts all are made, and breakthroughs tried, and hands at waste are brushed away for cleaning of the pans each day. Ringed fingers crossed, which once so tight were held and meshed as one at night. The seeds we sowed that grew as one have built a stem that felt so strong. The fruits it bore each season swelled, the frosts of winter been expelled. Once burst with life and glowing flower, but now the roots which went so deep have withered, and from hour to hour the trunk has split. It now feels weak, and leaves have dropped in April shower. The pulsing heart, trembling hand, the furrowed brow, the candles lit, which now are burnt down to the quick. To have and hold is now the only goal, in good times and in bad. Diamonds, and coal. To love each other when the love is thin, but keep on loving, letting anger in. To make more love than each feel on their own, so each may prop together more than being alone. To listen, then to find some loving words which show the pain is shared by you, is heard and sat with, though it breaks your heart. And each day must become a brand new start. For what we seek in the branches, we may find in the roots. And once deadened twigs may start to show green shoots. Long love is hard, but built of fragile stuff. Yet will continue when the times are rough. So what do you do when words have all been said? You listen, share, together try to grow instead. Thank you. And this one, I think I'm going to go for a filter on this one. Right. This is my one about my friend who went to Bristol University. Her daughter went to Bristol University and found out there was a Northern Society. And I can't find a flat cap, so this is the next best thing. So I thought, what would they actually say at a Northern Society? And this is about that.
Brilliant.
The Northern Club meets on outskirts of town. In club with sign for Newcastle Brown. Greyhounds and whippets are tied up outside as all things Northern are treated with pride. There's chips and there's gravy and dollops of peas. Nout wrong with dripping or tripe on steak pies. No mither or skriking, no fuss and nae bother. Just old-fashioned values, our kid. That's me brother. The caps are all flat and the vowels are and all. For fat ladies are names for the bingo we call. And pasties and pies and Greg's sausage roll. If drafty will tell thee, put wood in hole. The chair calls to order and all stand to sing the races at Bladen or Ilkley Ring. Sideboards and braces and buckets of coal. On jukebox, oasis and rare northern soul. These exiles from homeland up north where it's grim are forced to drink lager and cocktails with gin. Now then, ladies and gents, calls boss, it's time we debated ketchup or sauce. A sofa or couch, chaise long or settee. What time do we serve our supper or tea? And how do we say the words give us away, like castle and plastic, things every day? And is it more posh having scones or a scone? An ice cream what's served in a tub or a cone? And barm cake or muffin, a stotty or bap? When do we eat, what do we eat when past Watford Gap? Folk looked reet pensive, as pints they did sip, and packs of port scratchings they thoughtfully rip. Aye, they all cried, there's nought up with that. Hear, hear, yelled Justin, the soft southern twat. The butties were brung out on tinfoil for trays, as Yorkshire contingent swapped names for a spade. A pot then was brought out of steaming scouse stew, with puddings of Yorkshire and Eccles cakes too, and blood in a fryer. Puddings both black and white, none of your prawn cocktails or soft southern shite. Brass band stars up, playing Hovis track. Eyes turned all watery, it takes thee back. The trouble at mill, cobbles and all that before gentrification and luxury flats. And just as debate turned to what's meant by our pants, and fights breaking out between Scousers and Manx, the landlord, fearing some mischief or crime, holding his pint pot, yelled out, now it's time! But debate spilled out on pavements and streets on why the north is so hard to beat. We talk to each other on buses and trains and discuss the weather. It usually rains. So what do we do about arrogant shits who think the up north is truly the pits, who laugh at our mugs and scoff at our vowels and call our dishcloths their fancied tea towels? They tell us to put our powerhouse in order and talk about putting a wall on our border. So it's time to form our own northern party with booze and music and all that malarkey. Enough of the ruling southern elite and bojo and Tories in safe northern seats. It's time for rebellion, stand up and fight, because life in the north is really not shite. So tell them in Bristol, in Oxford and Kent, that grim up north is not what they meant. With music and nightlife, money aplenty, our cities are perfect when living past 20. So come to where life has so much more meaning, where people ask how you are with more feeling. Grim up north? What's that you say? I'd rather live up here any old day. Cheers.
Thanks, Mike. Well, I would have said us supper, not our supper, but otherwise you banged on there, mate.
You would have said what?
Us supper. not
More
hardcore.
supper. Right, okay, thanks for that amendment.
That's all right. But no, it was fantastic stuff, mate.
I'm a fake northerner, Steve. That's the difference, isn't it?
Listen, you know you got it off pat there, mate. That's excellent. Yeah, I remember years ago I stayed in a friend of a friend. I was on the way. I was going to France and I stayed in London at a penthouse near the Tower of London, and it was massive, this place. And the woman who put me up, she was lovely, and she worked in the city and stuff. And anyway, she said to me, "Where was I from?" And I said I was from Manchester. And she said, "Is that near Glasgow?" And I thought, I don't always think about down south. I've come across it before where educated southerners, I've got a real vagueness about the north. You know, you don't expect them to know everything, but they have a real vagueness about counties and, you know, and somebody from, when I'm moving, I've got a small mortgage. And when I spoke to the Skipton, I was speaking to somebody down south who was an Arsenal fan, and he was talking to me. And when he asked me what region Manchester was in, just as I was going to say northwest, he said, "Oh no, it's the East Midlands, isn't it?" I thought, honestly, it's a true story. And I thought, seriously, mate, you know, seriously, you know. Anyway, yeah, good stuff. Next up to finish us off is it going to finish us off this half? I think so. Are you okay, Amanda Steele, one of who, along with Andy and myself, just organised the speakeasy.
Okay, this is called Signs of Life. Searching through Facebook memories, trying to recapture moments you took for granted. Like if you stare at yourself for long enough, you could go back there armed with a warning. Listening to music from another time when everything was simpler, not perfect, but the lyrics transport you back. And you see now you were alive. Checking the hands of a clock for movement, or the calendar for a new page. Peering outside, watching the seasons shift, fingers pressed against your pulse for confirmation. Covering your mouth, not just to hide a reaction, but to feel the breath on your skin, or just to prevent yourself from screaming. Trying to etch photos into your memory, phoning to hear voices as faces become a blur, mentally checking up names as you read their posts, anything to confirm signs of life. And my last poem is called The World Without Imagination. In a world without imagination, we never got talking. We didn't build on our friendship at a spoken word night or listen to each other on the radio. In a world without cinema, we never had that second date where we saw 2 films in a day, hardly remembering the first film, but knowing we were creating our own plot. In a world without music, we never hug on every word, bonding over singers we'd only just discovered, making new memories together, triggered by the words of a song. In a world where we were just like everyone else, I blended into the shadows. You would never find me there. I buried my dreams, let myself be moulded in life's conveyor belt. In a world without imagination, we passed each other in a busy street, never knowing what could have been, not daring to imagine a life together, lacking the ability to imagine anything.
Thanks, Amanda. Thank you. Excellent way to round us off. Okay, we've got 7 readers in the second half. I'll put a list up. I'll tell people. I thought maybe Reggie, if you could kick us off, mate, in the second half, if that's okay. And then I'd have Tony after you, and then I'll work out the rest if that's all right. I know I've got Steve, I've got Juliet, I've got Tulu, I've got Isaac. So, and there's myself as well. I'll read a short piece. Okay. I've been. If we just have 5 minutes, maybe, yeah, just a quick toilet break, whatever, a quick cup of tea, and then I'll see you back. It's now 2028, so I'll see you in 7 minutes.